Romania's Prime Minister Marcel Ciolacu resigns after the candidate backed by his ruling coalition, Crin Antonescu, failed to make it to the runoff in the presidential race. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi visits Islamabad to mediate tensions with neighboring India as UN boss Antonio Guterres calls on both parties to exercise restraint. Israeli military bulldozers demolished a significant portion of a Bedouin hamlet in the West Bank, displacing dozens of Palestinians.
In a historic election defeat, Friedrich Merz was not elected German Chancellor by the Bundestag. He missed the required majority by 6 votes. 18 members of his governing coalition of CDU, CSU and SPD surprisingly refused to support him.
Ich gebe das Ergebnis der Wahl bekannt. Mitgliederzahl 630, abgegebene Stimmen 621, ungültiger Stimmzettel 1. Mit Ja haben gestimmt 310 der Abgeordneten, mit Nein haben gestimmt 307, Enthaltungen 3. Der Abgeordnete Friedrich Merz hat die erforderliche Mehrheit von mindestens 316 Stimmen nicht erreicht. Er ist gemäß Artikel 63 Absatz 2 des Grundgesetzes zum Bundeskanzler der Bundesrepublik Deutschland nicht gewählt.
Never before in the history of the Federal Republic of Germany has a chancellor not been elected in the first round of voting. Merz now hopes to gain the required majority in the second round of voting, expected to take place on Wednesday.
The hard-right nationalist candidate George Simeon secured a decisive win on Sunday in the first round of Romania's presidential election. Far behind in second place is Bucharest Mayor Nicu Sordan, who will face Simeon in the runoff. Dan is an independent candidate who unexpectedly surpassed the coalition candidate Crin Antonescu.
Astăzi, poporul român a votat. Astăzi, poporul român a vorbit. Este timpul să fie auzit. În ciuda obstacolelor, în ciuda manipulărilor, în ciuda unei prese plătite să ne înjosească zi de zi, românii s-au ridicat.
The vote took place for a second time after Romania's top court annulled the previous election following allegations of electoral violations and Russian interference. Far-right outsider Călin Georgescu, who topped that round, is under investigation and was barred from the rerun. Romania now faces a tough battle in the second round in 2 weeks, where it will have to choose between an inward nationalist candidate and a pro-EU and pro-NATO one.
The Prime Minister of Romania, Marcel Ciolacu, resigned because his coalition failed to propel Crin Antonescu in the final battle for the most important position in state. Romania will have an interim government until after the second round of the presidential elections, which will take place in the 18th of May. Also, we entered the electoral logic for the final round. 2 parties from the government already announced that they will support Nicu Sordan, the mayor of Bucharest, the pro-Western candidate. We will see how many votes can gain George Simeon, which is the president of the Alliance for the Unity of Romanians, isolationist, hard-right, pro-Trump, who obtained just over 40% in the first round. It will be a battle not between politicians, but between global visions regarding the future of Romania, towards the west or towards the east.
In the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps,
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has directed the active duty military to shed 20% of its 4-star general officers. He also told the National Guard to shed 20% of its top positions and directed the military to cut an additional 10% of its general and flag officers across the force. The move is a continuation of deep cuts to senior ranks at the Pentagon since the start of Donald Trump's second term as president. Hegseth says the cuts will promote efficiency, but critics worry they could result in a more politicized force. Trump or Hegseth have already fired several top general officers since January, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the U.S. Army's only 2 female 4-star officers. Hegseth claimed in a memo on Monday that the aim was to free the military from unnecessary bureaucratic layers.
But that does not mean
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi visited Islamabad to hold talks with senior Pakistani officials in an effort to mediate tensions with neighboring India. Tensions have spiked in recent weeks after an attack in Pahalgam claimed the lives of 26 people. The visit is the first by a foreign dignitary in the wake of the deadly attack in the Indian disputed region of Kashmir. Islamabad reaffirmed its commitment to peace but warned that it will resolutely respond to any violation of its territory or sovereignty.
Pakistan will resolutely defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity in exercise of the inherent right of self-defense as enshrined in the Article 51 of the UN Charter.
The comments came after a senior Pakistani minister revealed recently that intelligence indicates an Indian attack may be imminent. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has urged both parties to de-escalate and make decisions that prioritize peace and human life.
Now is the time for maximum restraint and stepping back from the brink. That has been my message in my ongoing outreach with both countries. Make no mistake, a military solution is no solution. And I offer my good offices to both governments in the service of peace.
Both countries have been on high alert to maintain preparedness in the case of any attack. India has ordered several states to conduct military drills as Pakistan continues to carry out missile tests. Araghchi is set to visit New Delhi in the coming days to meet officials and explore ways to restore peace. Israeli military bulldozers demolished a significant portion of a Bedouin hamlet in the occupied West Bank. Homes and much of the village of Khalat al-Dab's community infrastructure was reduced to rubble, forcibly displacing dozens of Palestinians.
Huge Israeli military forces with bulldozers invaded Khalat al-Dab, which is community we are in now, and they start destroying homes after forcing families to leave their homes, taking them out, children, women, men, taking their properties out of their homes and then destroying a home after another.
The demolitions happened in Masafer Yatta, a region in the West Bank where extremist Israeli settlers are expanding their network of outposts. The area had been under the spotlight recently after the film No Other Land, depicting settler violence, gained international acclaim with an Academy Award. The co-director of the film, Basil Adra, says the demolitions are intended to clear the path for Israel to continue its expansion.
Since October 7th, the Israeli army with the settlers established 3 illegal outposts around this community and now erasing this village to create more and more Israeli illegal settlements in the area.
The coordinator of government activities in the territories, the body responsible for overseeing administrative matters in occupied areas, says the buildings were constructed unlawfully in an area designated as a military zone. Palestinians have routinely expressed that obtaining the required authorization from Israel is nearly impossible.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hopes to receive 3 million artillery shells from allies and partners in 2025, including 1.8 million under a Czech-led program. During a meeting with Czech President and former NATO General Petr Pavel on Sunday, he also said discussions were underway for a Ukrainian-Czech pilot training school for F-16 fighter jets.
Já jsem rád, že jsme se s panem prezidentem mohli bavit o konkrétních možnostech, jak Česká republika bude i nadále Ukrajinu podporovat, že jsme si mohli probrat situaci ohledně nadcházejících jednání, jak s americkou stranou, tak s evropskými spojenci, a že v těchto otázkách máme opravdu velkou míru shody.
Zelensky's visit follows comments made by Russian President Vladimir Putin that the need to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine had not arisen, and that he hopes it won't. Later on today, the Ukrainian president is due to meet with Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala.
Pro-Palestine protesters disrupted the speech of Dutch Defence Minister Ruben Brekelmans during their National Liberation Day celebrations in Wageningen. Demonstrators chanted Free Palestine and other pro-Palestinian slogans. Brekkelmans reacted to the situation in his speech.
En ik zeg dat ook tegen de mensen die we hier zojuist zagen. Elkaar stevig vasthouden en elkaar niet uit elkaar laten spelen. Dat is wat ons allen te doen staat.
In total, 5 people were arrested as they breached security barriers, according to the police. The annual ceremony, which was taking place, marks the end of Nazi occupation in the Netherlands in 1945.
The VE Day 80th anniversary commemoration started in London on Monday, with thousands lining the streets. A military parade near Parliament and Buckingham Palace began 4 days of pageantry. Around 1,300 British troops marched, joined by soldiers from NATO allies and Ukraine. King Charles III took the salute as the procession passed Buckingham Palace. At noon, Big Ben tolled, and actor Timothy Spall recited Churchill's 1945 victory speech. The anniversary is on May 8th, but the commemorations were brought forward due to the UK public holiday. The Cenotaph War Memorial was uniquely draped in Union flags, reportedly for the first time since 1920. Spectators stressed the importance of honoring those who died for freedom.